Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today I'm going to be taking a request from a subscriber who apparently has 1.5 million followers on Instagram. Not going to say his name, give him a little bit of privacy, but impressive nonetheless. He congratulates me on my karate combat win and then says he wants some advice on having several bad training sessions in a row at the gym. He said, how do you deal with having several bad days for a certain period? After 1 year of MMA, I feel like I'm just getting lit up by everybody in the gym as soon as I'm not sparring beginners. And that is a fantastic question, and one that today I'm not going to pre-plan the episode. I'm just going to give you feedback as it comes to me, make this a little bit more organic, and talk you through this process. So the very first thing to recognize about struggling at the gym, having bad training sessions, or feeling like you're not getting the better of other people who have been training as long as you, the first thing that you have to remember is even though fight sports are very often versus other people, you want to remove that from your mind as best you can and focus on your own improvement. Now, I do understand that that is very difficult, and I will get to actual formulas to improve, but remembering that if you start here and you're making progress, that is the main goal. Martial arts in general should not be about being better than everybody else in the gym. It should be about you improving. So if you can start with that mindset and you go, I'm just going to focus on what I'm doing, which I've been able to do for much of my career, then your focus on your own improvement becomes a positive thing as opposed to negative when you don't feel like you're matching everybody else. And in the positive state or a mindset of improving and getting better than you were a day ago, a week ago, a month ago, you will get better and better. And hopefully with that positive mindset and continuing to drive forward, eventually you will pass everybody else just organically in the gym. This has been my experience, but that's not to say that there have not been times where I got frustrated, where I had bad days at the gym. So I'm going to talk you through a couple of them that pop into my mind right now. And if I make errors in this video, I'm going through, I sort of stumble on my words, forgive me. I'm just, like I said, I want this to be a little bit more organic because this is a subject near and dear to my heart, I want to say, and I just rather do things right from here. So one of the very first times that I remember really struggling with fighting other people, I was only 12 years old, 13 maybe, when I started in the adult class, and I was having that difficulty executing in sparring the same way that I could in pad work or bag work or shadow boxing. I felt really good over here. I probably looked really good, and then I would go and spar and I would have trouble pulling the trigger. And I remember my dad being in the corner, not of the ring, we were just training on a big open flat surface, hardwood floors, but he would just be yelling at me like, you gotta go, you gotta go. And at one point, finally, just because he kept being there saying like, go, you gotta do something, you gotta do something, not just defense, offense, I threw something up and I landed and I went, oh, I can beat this adult who I was very intimidated by because I was only 12 or 13, and I can't remember if they were 18 or they were 30, but to me, they were a full-grown adult. So the first thing that you have to recognize with this story is basically sometimes we have these mental blocks in our head and it's stopping us from taking that progression forward. That for me was a moment where I went, whoa, I can do this. And pretty much from that point on, it was like something clicked. And then I went in and I started throwing more techniques. And I started, this was point fighting, by the way, I started landing on adults. I started beating the adults. Whereas, you know, in that one moment, I went from not being able to beat them, losing all the matches, to all of a sudden becoming the best guy in the gym. So you will at some points have these mental blocks, and sometimes it's going to take somebody else helping you. Sometimes it's going to take yourself to overcome these. If you're an adult and you don't have a great coach who's in your ear all the time, you might have to do it by yourself. That is very difficult. Now, excuse me, the next thing that I want to talk about is when I made the transition to really focusing on jiu-jitsu and wrestling for the MMA fights that I had. So This was different for me because I had gone from pretty much, like I just said, at 12 or 13 years old, something clicking, going, whoa, I can actually land. And then all of a sudden being one of the best in the gym very fast, all the way up until I was probably like, I don't know, when I had my first MMA fight, 34. So all of that time kind of being the boss at the gym, somebody that everybody else struggled with. And then all of a sudden I went to jiu-jitsu and I went, ooh, I'm the baby in the room. Now everybody's ragdolling me. I'm getting tapped out constantly. And like literally everybody in this room can beat me. And it was humbling, but it also made me start off and have to build that learning curve. And I want to talk you through what I had to do, the mindset that I had, and little tips and tricks I had to get from that point where I was the baby to the point where I felt a little bit more comfortable and was actually starting to tap out some people and not get submitted 3 or 4 times every 5-minute round. And the very first thing you're gonna hear it time and time again, it's gonna sound like a cliche almost, but it is consistency. If you're not being consistent, if you give up and you just walk away, you take a month off, a week off, and you're not constantly building, it is very difficult to get good. Everybody else who's at the gym and putting in the time is improving, but you're not at the same speed as them. So make sure that even on the days when you're struggling, you go to the gym and you're like, oh, I just had a terrible session, I'm gonna take a week off. That is going to hinder you because obviously everybody else who's sticking there is going to be getting better in that week when you're gone. So sometimes it's just about, accepting, I had a bad session, but I'm going to continue to push through, and that mindset will not only help you going forward, but just showing up at the gym is going to help your skill level increase. Now, something which I noticed when I was doing jiu-jitsu was I really started to make improvements in leaps and bounds when I started mentally thinking about the session. So instead of just showing up at the session, thinking about other stuff all day, be like, okay, we're rolling. I'm going to engage my brain in this moment, in the activity. And then as soon as I leave the gym, I'm done. That didn't work well for me. I tried that in my first 2 fight camps. And then in the 3rd fight camp where I would think about what I was going to be doing in rolling when I was going to the gym. And then when I left, I really took everything that happened. I compiled it together. That for me was a turning point where I went, oh, okay, now I'm able to recognize what I did wrong, what I did right. Or when I was going there, I would think about the last session, be like, oh, I remember I got tapped out with that arm bar. I'm not gonna let that happen again. I know the setup now. And taking those moments to really reflect on what actually happened was the point where I started to improve and I started to stop tap outs on me and actually start to submit people. So engage that mind a little bit more on this activity that you really want to be good at. Now, it's easy to get bummed out when you do not have a good training session. I've already mentioned thought process. We've talked about not being focused on what others are doing, but being more focused on your own improvement. And we also talked about the thought process, pre and post training. What I would really like to emphasize, I suppose, if you can put all of that together and not get discouraged on those bad days, it's going to be a good recipe for success. And it's going to be something that if you look long-term at your progression, when you look back 6 months from now, let's say we scoot forward to the middle of 2023, you look at where you are right now, you look at where you are in 6 months in the future, you go, oh, I actually made those improvements. And that is really what we're looking for. We're not looking for, oh, in a week from now, I'm gonna, I kept getting caught with the left hook. So in a week, I wanna have this hand up all the time and I wanna be perfect and never again get caught with the left hook. We have to be realistic. We have to go, oh, that's probably not gonna happen. And it's okay to get beat up at the gym. Not, leaving with a headache, but I had to wrap my head around that from going, the best in the gym, very rarely getting hit, very rarely having anybody who beat me in a sparring round, to all of a sudden rolling where I'm getting ragdolled and I feel like I have nothing to give. That is a game changer. And it's very easy to get discouraged. It's very easy to go, oh, why am I doing this? Get upset at yourself. But I didn't have that mindset. I just went, I'm gonna have fun with this. I'm gonna be positive. I'm going to get better if I look at long term, not just short term. And that for me sometimes was, I have 10 weeks to get ready for this MMA fight. I just started groundwork. Like there's an actual timeline, there's a clock. It's not like I have that year or half a year to slowly get better. It's crunch time, we gotta go. But still, having fun with it, not getting too discouraged, and overall, if you can really wrap your head around that idea that, yes, I can improve outside the gym by running through things in my mind or by watching other people compete, I believe that is a game changer as well, something that will allow you to improve your skill level very quickly. Watch others, fight those guys in your head. So if you're watching the fight and you see people doing this, you're going, oh, here comes the left hook, I'm gonna check that left hook, and I would throw back. Maybe the opponent of the guy you're watching is not doing that, but you are calculated, you are thinking, you have your brain in that state of fighting when you are watching people compete in boxing, MMA, doesn't matter what it is. I think that's something that's going to help a lot. And the last little tip that I want to give you, if you are struggling at the gym, if you're going, okay, I feel really good in some areas, but I'm struggling in the sparring, occasionally, not all the time, but occasionally it is okay to draw back from those sparring sessions, go into the gym, say, I'm going to do everything today, but I don't want to move with other people in an active fight situation. I have done this in jiu-jitsu where I went, you know what, I just got beat up last night and I don't feel like I'm ready physically and mentally for another beatdown tonight, so I'm gonna go in, I'm going to roll, go through the motions of learning the drills, practice escaping submissions, applying submissions, just go through the drilling, but I'm not actually gonna roll. And then I'll sit there and I'll watch other people roll. So my mind is still triggering, but I'm not actually beating myself down mentally and physically. So it's okay once in a while to take those days off sparring, off rolling, and to just focus on watching others and improving in that way. Overall, I guess the theme of this whole episode is stay positive. Don't let yourself get beat down by days where you don't get the better of others. And if you're looking at your comparison to somebody, this guy's been here for a year, I've been here for a year, he's beating me. That's short term. You want to look at long term. You want to enjoy this activity you're doing so much that in 10 years you're still doing it, and think of how good you'll be in 10 years. And that for me has always been a mindset. I know I'm in this for the long haul. This has never been, oh, I'm 20 years old, I'm going to do this till I'm 25 or 30, then I'm going to stop. It's not, I need to get good as fast as possible. It's just, I need to get really, really good, but I have loads of time to make it happen. If you have that mindset, you are a true martial artist. You will be doing this for life, and you don't need to worry about, I need to get really good, really fast now. That, I think, is something to keep in mind, and something that will be a key difference in people who want to get really good, but are willing to take the time to make that happen. Anyway, I hope this helps some people out there who've been struggling with their improvement. Is this groundbreaking news or information for you? Maybe not, but it might be that positivity you need to get back in there and recognize on the bad training days, the bad sessions, don't let it get to you too much. I've had many in my life. I've had ones where I go in and I spar and I'm getting hit. And as I'm getting hit, I'm like, oh, I should probably block that. But by the time they pull their hands back, I'm already going, oh, shoot, now they're going to be coming at me again. These days do happen. They happen to everybody. You cannot be on point all the time. Do not berate yourself over that. I've learned throughout the years that these sessions, whether they're one session or a whole week of bad sessions, keep moving forward, keep trucking along, stay positive, and you come out of that tunnel, let's say, on the other side, and then you go back to feeling good and everything lights up. At least that's my experience in it. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you found it helpful. I will see you back here soon for another episode.